Okay, hello and welcome back. This video we're going to be building a Python program that uses a function. We're going to be doing an example out of the book. So chapter 3, programming exercise number 6, body mass index. We need to make a modular program that calculates the BMI, body mass index. The function for that, BMI equals weight times 703 divided by height squared. Okay, so we went over all this in the last video when we built the same program using Raptor. We're going to stick as close as we can to that Raptor program, but no, we know that things do work a little bit differently, and function calls are going to work a little bit differently. The way the Raptor does the function calls, you need to define the output immediately. In Python and other languages, we're going to define the return value or the output at the end of the function. Okay, so that's one of the major differences. Control of the program is going to be the same though. All right, so let's get started. Let's define our main first. All right, def main. Okay, now we're in our main program, main function. Right, and my little outline right here. So that's cool. I'm just going to start with some comments. Just like the previous flowchart, we did our inputs first. So I need to input height from the user. Then I need to input weight from the user. Then I need to calculate the BMI. Then I need to output the BMI to the user. Right? And that's going to be our main program. The calculate BMI, that is our other function. All right, so calculate the BMI. Okay, so our function here is going to be define Calc BMI, just like we had in Raptor. And I'm going to say height, weight. Okay, so that looks pretty good, right? What are we going to do with height and weight? Let's do these inputs first. Okay, so input from the user. How did we do the input from the user before? We need to have a variable called height equals 0. We need to set that initially and then say height equals input from the user. Remember, we want a number, so I'm going to say float. Okay, I'm going to cast whatever my input is. Input. Okay, what is the input? The way the input function works is we get a string and we can say, please input your height in inches, period. Okay, so what this is going to do is prompt the user, please input your height in inches. We need to prompt the user and be specific. Right? We don't want users to get confused and type in 5'10" when they actually meant 70 inches. You were expecting inches, so we need to specifically say inches. Right? So that's going to do the input, and then whatever value gets typed in is going to get cast to a float and put in height. All right, I'm just using float just for fun, really. We could do this in an integer, no problem. We probably should, but I'm going to do math, so I plan on using a float for now. Same thing with the weight. You know what? Why don't I copy this whole line and then just change the W, not weight in inches, weight in pounds. Okay, so that's the weight. Calculate BMI. we need BMI equals Calc BMI height, comma, weight, right? So we're going to call the Calc BMI function, pass the arguments height and weight. We need to make sure our arguments that we call in here, arguments that we pass in here, match the parameters in our function. So we want the height and weight, and we're going to return the BMI later in our function. We have not built it yet, but we know that's what it's going to do. So Calc BMI, we pass height and weight, and it's going to return the BMI and get assigned to BMI. Very nice. And then our output is going to be print, oops, your BMI is, do some curly braces, format, there we go. So this is my current preferred way to print variables in a string of text, is to use this function with the format. I know some of you have used a different function. You're printing output to the screen. I'm not fussed about what function you use to do it. It works very good. That's all it needs to do. Okay. So our main function, assuming we didn't make any mistakes, this is complete. Okay. So now we need to do our Calc BMI function, and we need to say BMI equals, again, I'm going to use a lot of parentheses times 703. That's from the formula that they gave us. Okay. Divided by height times height. Okay, so the formula is height squared. That's height times height. It's weight times 703. We want to use a lot of parentheses. I know I mentioned before. You know what? I don't even need a variable, right? Let me finish my train of thought here. Use a lot of parentheses because if you don't use parentheses, every once in a while the computer is going to process things differently than you thought it did, and you're going to get a different result, and you're going to have a headache at the very least. Okay, so use all kinds of parentheses whenever you put formulas into your programs. Okay, so take note here. Next is return BMI. That's the end of my function, but I don't have to create a variable and assign a value to it, right? I'm only doing the one thing. I can just say return that, return the value of that function, right? And I don't need to create a variable. That's one less storage space in memory that's going to be taken up. That sounds great, right? I just saved a little bit. All right, so I've created all this, and assuming it's right, I can now call the main, and I can save. This program does run a little bit slow, or maybe it's because I'm recording. There we go, it's finally saved. Okay, so let's run this. Let the debugger go. Invalid syntax. All right, height and weight, height and weight. What did we do wrong in there? Right, let's see. Height, weight is a float. Oh, that's not, I didn't do anything wrong in there. What I forgot to do is put my colon. Okay. Or put the function's colon, not my colon. All right. Make sure you don't forget that colon in there. Very small. Almost completely missed it. Well, I completely missed it, but I almost had to restart this video. All right, let's save that. That was easy enough to find. Let's rerun this again. Okay, no errors. Please input your height in inches. 72. Please input your weight in pounds, 165. I'm using the same numbers that I used in a Raptor version. Your BMI is 22.37, yada, yada, yada. And that's the same BMI I got before. Okay, so this is Chapter 3, Programming Exercise 6. We defined our own function. Very simple function. All it does is this not too difficult math formula here, using two inputs, building one output. We put it in the variable BMI, and then we output that to the user. Okay. I'll make this code available on Blackboard as well. And thanks for watching.